So I think most of you have had the letter, you have the itinerary, and obviously we just want to make it as welcoming and as encourage many of you to come as possible. Not that we're worried about numbers or anything like that, but basically just, it's been a few years since we've run a London trip. It's probably always been on one of our most popular trips, and just in case there's things you're not sure about what the trip looks like, it's probably the most exciting trip to do. I mean, there's a bit of debate, Heathrow is pretty good as well.
There's quite a lot of bias in there.
Yeah, there is.
Ours is the best trip. Yeah, it's the one people talk about London.
It is, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, I just want to say there's a few things we want to just iron out. It's your chance to ask questions as much as anything else. So we just start talking through what the itinerary looks like, and I'm going to I know you have this letter, so I don't want to just read through it and say this is what's happening this day, this is what's happening. If there's anything you really want to know about how this looks and how we're going to run it, the way that we normally do things, we have a bus which takes us everywhere. We go from one venue to another by bus, we have children on and off. We've got a really good team, and it's normally an excellent trip. There are some real highlights. There are moments like the Tour of Parliament. It's just incredible. It's one of those things you can't do as a member of public. It's the same way that we do it. We get to meet our MP. We get taken around in small groups by someone who works in Parliament. We won't do that instance of the day. And every tour you get is a little bit different. You get a little bit of a different story. There's so much history, so rich and wonderful. And it's just a stunning building to be in, as well as that little chance that for the children to have that little chance of glimpsing the PM or whoever else will be walking around at that time. Has anyone got any particular questions about any that you really want to dive into? Otherwise, I know that was really boring and things you've already read. I don't want it to be that kind of moment. Is there anything you think, I wonder what happens when?
Well, I can add in a bit of detail about the way that we've approached this London trip, which is a little bit different to the past. And Michelle Sampson, we kind of owe Michelle a lot for this, because historically there has been quite a capped limit on London from Blue Coat. I think it was capped at 50, so it was first come, first served. And while it's still first come, first served, we've managed to book, I think it is a 70-seater coach. And there are a couple out to trust, but actually, realistically speaking, if you want to come to London, you'll be able to come to London. And we felt like that was a much fairer way of running this. And of course, the more people we get on the trip, the more likely we are to be able to keep our costs down as well. Well, we will be able to. The more people we have, the cheaper it becomes. And we're looking to keep it below 300, and we can achieve that if plenty of people sign up. But we felt like it was that fundamental thing, which is if you want to come on the trip, then you should have the chance to come on the trip, and you shouldn't be kind of capped. So that's how we've approached it this year. Mr. Hick, would you like to go to the next slide? What have we got on the next slide? It could be anything on the next slide.
Very simple.
Oh, yeah.
So, just sort of health and safety. We practice how to walk around London, as in we talk about groups. With our children, we want to take about 7 adults with us. Each adult has a group. We drill children on how to come to their adult very quickly, take quick registers, all that sort of thing, what to do in an emergency. And all children have a band. We've never lost a child on a trip yet. I'll add quickly.
We set ourselves high standards here.
We have done for like 20 years, so actually that is quite a good record.
That's all right, isn't it?
And but we have a band with school number on just in case. And sort of closer to the time, obviously there's things like dietary requirements, medical requirements. We make sure that you guys have plenty of time to come and tell us those sorts of things. We've taken children with a huge range of things which we needed to look after in the past. Never a problem. Like Mr. Pye says, we want as many people to come as not holding anyone back. We have had one slight change in that we will now be staying here, won't we? Which is at the Thames Riverside Hotel rather than where we were previously next to the Science Museum, so that's one sort of difference.
That's not a decision made from the school's perspective. Baden Powell House is the place where I think every North Devon school, I've worked at 2 other North Devon schools that also stay at Baden Powell for their London trip, and they changed ownership, and so that's kind of forced our hand a little bit. But actually, I think we've been able to kind of consider different things, actually, and it's helped us kind of reconsider the London trip as well.
And it looks pretty swish, as you said.
It is pretty swish. Yeah. There we go.
So we really want to take everyone if we can. We have 58 places available for Blueco, and we'll be taking 7 members of staff, like I said. We want to accommodate everyone, but because we're booking all the different trips, we kind of require confirmation as soon as possible. So that's really why we're having this meeting now, and just trying to get as much information out to you as possible, and so that we can sort of get deposits in, sort of hope in the end of this week, beginning of next week, just so that we can say yes, the place is.
What did we agree on the deposit? Was it £30?
£30.
I thought it was. Yeah. Okay. So it's £30 for the deposit, but that is as quickly as possible, just so we can confirm numbers. When we can confirm numbers, we can confirm staffing, and we can confirm all the rest of the trip basically. So it'd be really helpful. I don't know if anyone has any questions about health and safety while we're out in London, or any questions more broadly.
The same place as this?
Ooh. John.
So yes, breakfast and dinner in the accommodation, and then they make us a packed lunch which we take out, and then we eat in different places depending where we are. Looks pretty good actually. I think cooked breakfast.
That's different to previous years, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Wow.
great. Ooh. Yes, I think there is 70 seats, so I believe there is a toilet on the coach. Is that right? Yes. So,
Yeah, nice. Nice.
yeah, makes life a lot easier for everybody.
Is the booking and deposit done through the Arva app?
I believe it is going to be everything. I think from moving forwards, it's going to be done through Arbor. Fingers crossed. Make it as easy as possible.
If any other questions strike you, then please do email the office or email us, and we'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. But it would be really, really helpful that if you do intend to go, that we get the deposit in as quickly as possible, and it will help us run the trip properly. So thank you for coming in, and sorry I'm sending you back out in the rain. That's, yeah.
If you've got questions, just rather than ask, everybody else will hang around for a little
Yeah.
Come on.